Section 20 of the Second Jungle Book. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Second Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. Section 20. Red Dog, Part 1. For our white and our excellent nights, for the nights of swift running, fair ranging, far seeing, good hunting, sure cunning, for the smells of the dawning, untainted, ere dew has departed, for the rush through the mist, and the quarry blind started, for the cry of our mates when the sambar has wheeled and it's standing at bay, for the risk and the riot of night, for the sleep at the lair mouth by day, it is met, and we go to fight. Bay, oh bay. It was after the letting in of the jungle that the pleasantest part of Mowgli's life began. He had the good conscience that comes from paying debts. All the jungle was his friend, and just a little afraid of him. The things that he did and saw and heard when he was wandering from one people to another, with or without his four companions, would make many, many stories, each as long as this one. So you will never be told how he met the mad elephant of Mandla, who killed 22 bullocks drawing 11 carts of coined silver to the government treasury, and scattered the shiny rupees in the dust, how he fought Jacala, the crocodile, all one long night in the marshes of the north, and broke his skinning knife on the brute's back plates, how he found a new and longer knife round the neck of a man who had been killed by a wild boar, and how he tracked that boar and killed him as a fair price for the knife, how he was caught up once in the great famine by the moving of the deer, and nearly crushed to death in the swaying hot herds, how he saved Hathi the Silent from being once more trapped in a pit with a stake at the bottom, and how, next day, he himself fell into a very cunning leopard trap, and how Hathi broke the thick wooden bars to pieces above him, how he milked the wild buffaloes in the swamp, and how. But we must tell one tale at a time. Father and Mother Wolf died, and Mowgli rolled a big boulder against the mouth of their cave, and cried the death song over them. Baloo grew very old and stiff, and even Bagheera, whose nerves were steel and whose muscles were iron, was a shade slower on the kill than he had been. Akela turned from grey to milky white with pure age. His ribs stuck out, and he walked as though he had been made of wood, and Mowgli killed for him. But the young wolves, the children of the disbanded Seeonee pack, throve and increased, and when there were about 40 of them, masterless, full-voiced, clean-footed 5-year-olds, Akela told them that they ought to gather themselves together and follow the law, and run under the head as befitted the free people. This was not a question in which Mowgli concerned himself, for, as he said, he had eaten sour fruit, and he knew the tree it hung from. But when Phao, son of Paona, his father was the grey tracker in the days of Akela's headship, fought his way to the leadership of the pack, according to the jungle law, and the old calls and songs began to ring under the stars once more, Mowgli came to the Council Rock for memory's sake. When he chose to speak, the pack waited till he had finished, and he sat at Akela's side on the rock above Phao. Those were days of good hunting and good sleeping. No stranger cared to break into the jungles that belonged to Mowgli's people, as they called the pack, and the young wolves grew fat and strong, and there were many cubs to bring to the looking over. Mowgli always attended a looking over, remembering the night when a black panther brought a naked brown baby into the pack, and the long call, "Look, look well, O wolves," made his heart flutter. Otherwise, he would be far away in the jungle with his four brothers, tasting, touching, seeing, and feeling new things. One twilight, when he was trotting leisurely across the ranges to give Akela the half of a buck that he had killed, while the four jogged behind him, sparring a little, and tumbling one another over for joy of being alive, he heard a cry that had never been heard since the bad days of Shere Khan. It was what they called in the jungle the peel, a hideous kind of shriek that the jackal gives when he is hunting behind a tiger, or when there is a big killing afoot. If you can imagine a mixture of hate, triumph, fear, and despair, with a kind of leer running through it, you will get some notion of the peel that rose and sank and wavered and quavered far away across the Waingunga. The four stopped at once, bristling and growling. Mowgli's hand went to his knife, and he checked the blood in his face. His eyebrows knotted. "There is no striped one dare kill here," he said. "That is not the cry of the Forerunner," answered Grey Brother. "It is some great killing. Listen!" It broke out again, half sobbing and half chuckling, just as though the jackal had soft human lips. Then Mowgli drew deep breath, and ran to the Council Rock, overtaking on his way hurrying wolves of the pack. Phao and Akela were on the rock together, and below them, every nerve strained, sat the others. The mothers and the cubs were cantering off to their lairs, for when the peel cries it is no time for weak things to be abroad. They could hear nothing except the Waingunga rushing and gurgling in the dark, and the light evening winds above the tree tops, till suddenly across the river a wolf called. It was no wolf of the pack, for they were all at the rock. The note changed to a long, despairing bay, and "Dhole," it said. "Dhole, dhole, dhole." They heard tired feet on the rocks, and a gaunt wolf, streaked with red on his flanks, his right forepaw useless, and his jaws white with foam, flung himself into the circle and lay gasping at Mowgli's feet. "Good hunting! Under whose headship?" said Phao gravely. "Good hunting! Won tolla am I," was the answer. He meant that he was a solitary wolf, fending for himself, his mate, and his cubs in some lonely lair, as they do many wolves in the south. Won tolla means an outlier, one who lies out from any pack. Then he panted, and they could see his heart beats shake him backward and forward. "What moves?" said Phao, for that is the question all the jungle asks after the peel cries. "The dhole, the dhole of the Dekkan Red Dog, the killer." They came north from the south, saying that Dekkan was empty and killing out by the way. When this moon was new there was 4 to me, my mate and 3 cubs. She would teach them to kill on the grass plains, hiding to drive the buck, as we do who are of the open. At midnight I heard them together, full tongue on the trail. At the dawn wind I found them stiff in the grass. 4 free people, 4 when this moon was new. Then sought I my blood right, and found the dhole. "How many?" said Mowgli quickly. The pack growled